A very good Monday afternoon to all of you. Welcome into the Chico Borman Show here on the Big Play Sports Network. It is great to have you along, and wow, do we have a lot going on, including breaking news involving the Guardians. Steven Vogt is their new manager, as they've tapped him to replace Tito Francona, so we're going to get to that a little bit later on in the show. A crazy weekend, as usually is the case between the NFL, college football, even Cavaliers. By the way, anyone else's vision distorted for the better part of 2 days after trying to watch Friday night's game against the Pacers? Good God. It felt like the, of course it's a Seinfeld analogy, but it seriously felt like when Jerry had to move into Kramer's apartment because of Kenny Rogers' roasters, the blinding red light. Jerry, my rods and cones are all screwed up. That's what I felt like watching that Cavs game. Like the NBA, I know, like, well, you're talking about it, so it was a success. But sometimes that's not always the case. But anyway, Cavs do get a W against Golden State before the weekend was out. But we begin. Yes, indeedy, kids. We begin with your Cleveland Browns, my Cleveland Browns, and our Cleveland Browns. He's not your Vetus. He's not my Vetus. He's our Vetus, Sabonis. The Cleveland Browns winners yesterday, dominant fashion, 27-0. They shut out the Arizona Cardinals. Clayton Tune. I think I was referring to him as Charlie Tuna. I'm Charlie Tuna. Clayton Tune, poor guy. You know, and by the way, Kyler Murray, part of it, I guess I understand. Like, they mentioned it in the beginning, like, well, you know, if you're Kyler Murray, you don't want to start against the But if you're the franchise quarterback, if you're that guy, then if you're ready to go, you play. I don't know, but I'm glad. Hey, I'm glad he didn't. But Clayton Tune, oh my gosh, poor guy.
Chico, do you think that the Cardinals did Tune more dirty than the Browns did DTR when they threw him to the Wolves? I feel like it's about the same level. It's like, because that offensive line for Arizona was atrocious, and there is a lot of speculation that I think is warranted because you don't want Kyler Murray's first game back to be against the best defense in the NFL.
Yeah, okay, but again, if you're the franchise quarterback, I mean, sorry, you should. It is what it is. I mean, they're paying you a lot of money. If you're healthy, you play. You don't go, well, they're really good, I can't play against them. As far as DTR, though, like that, I think was a legitimate, although it was still crazy, legitimate in terms of, Deshaun couldn't go, right? I think in the case of Arizona, I think everybody in Arizona, including Kyler Murray and including Clayton Tune, knew that Kyler Murray wasn't going to play.
Supposedly, Kyler Murray was taking all the scout team reps this week, so he wasn't actually like practicing with the ones.
Yeah, like they were throwing that out there, but I'm pretty sure that he was able to go. He just probably didn't want to. And well, I mean, considering what the Browns were able to do, a first shutout since 2007. My gosh, Bohm, what were you, like, in diapers? You were eating pull-ups?
I remember that game. I remember
I
went to Champs restaurant. My dad was at that game.
This is so weird.
I went to Champs and I watched the game there, and it was fun. I mean, it was wild. The Derek Anderson miracle season, Chico.
Well, yeah, you know what else? What else is very funny about that? And it's crazy because you'd think, wow, you've had a lot of games since 99, and why would you, but everybody remembers, seemingly, everybody I talk to remembers where they were when that game happened. I actually was at a pig roast in Bainbridge, Ohio. And the next day, I mean, the weather was, but again, we're talking, completely different climates. And then the next day was the game, and you're just watching this. You're going, this is, you can't even play in this. How do you do this? But yes, 8-0. Couple of 3-run doubles by Phil Dawson and the and the Browns. So that was the last shutout, and they dominated. Now, they should dominate them, especially with Clayton Tune in there. No real running game to speak of. I mean, you pretty much knew when the first carry the ball game went to Rondale Moore, who was very, very quick out of Purdue, and they run some Wildcat with him, but I think they get James Conner back next week too. Yeah, that's the other thing. Kyler Murray's like, yeah, you know what? I'll wait until James is back as well. So
Arizona actually has one of the most proficient rushing attacks in the NFL.
Proficient. Look at you.
Yeah, no, like they're one
Paul
of the
Keels is wearing off on you already. Look at that. Well, and the Cardinals with one of the more proficient running.
That was amazing though. Hearing Paul Keels, it was surreal. It was kind of weird, but it was incredible. Hearing Paul Keels call Browns plays.
Here's what I would say. Okay, and I kind of tweeted this out when it happened. Obviously, if you're an Ohio State fan, you clearly know who Paul Keels is. I can remember the first time I ever heard his voice, and I tweeted this out. Like I was driving, and I like pulled over. I mean, it wasn't like highway or anything, but like pulled over into a parking lot, and I'm like, who is this guy? Like, it's just. And in this business, like you hear a lot of those, right? I mean, a lot of guys, gals, whatever. But in this case, a lot of guys have those, the baritones and the great delivery. But Keels is like on another level, man. Like I can't even.
It's so smooth.
Yes.
It's just clean.
Yes.
It's. Yeah, one of the best in the biz for sure, and certainly not taking away anything from Jimmy Donovan.
Oh God, no,
totally, like not even trying to compare them, but It was a really cool experience to hear all of it.
Yeah,
and then Paul Keels said my name. That was cool.
Boom, I want workman's comp. So what did Smokey say? In Friday, I want $150,000. We could settle out of court right now for an envelope and some Jolly Ranchers. It's all right. That's good. That's an all-time moment. And I keep going with the, with the story. Boom, good job. I saw it. I'll be honest with you. I saw that out of the corner of my eye. Is there any way we can go back and do it slow-mo? Like after, I'm not saying now, but after the broadcast?
I'm going to send Rob a text right now.
Because I think that would be, everybody's fine. Nobody's hurt. And, it's okay. It happens. Boy, certain days, if that would have happened, I probably would have lost my mind.
Good thing the Browns won.
Yeah, exactly. We're all in good spirits. When the Browns shut out the Arizona Cardinals. Wow, that was interesting. That was interesting. You might want to shoot Dave a text as well. Just let him know he had some issues. So yeah, Paul Keels was on the radio call, and look, both can be true. I mean, of course, Jimmy Donovan is. I always say this, and I love this this is a part of being a sports fan, is who you grew up listening to, kind of like in your formative years, your younger years. It certainly helps if a team is very good. In the case of Jimmy Donovan, people didn't get that. He didn't get that advantage, but he still continues to make it sound so incredibly entertaining. But Nev Chandler was my favorite. Many now that are younger are like, man, Jimmy Donovan. And Jimmy has an incredible, I've always said that Jimmy has a way of being enthusiastic without being over the top. Like his voice just exudes enthusiasm without being over the top. And that is not easy to do. Jimmy does it to perfection. But then at the same time, like Paul Keels is, but again, I just remember pulling over into a parking lot. I was like, now, this really is. You know how people will joke around with it? Somebody who has a good voice and be like, oh, the voice of God. I thought that was the voice of God. I thought he was going to go, well, Michael, I understand that you disobeyed my fourth commandment yesterday. Boom, you all right? You're kind of frazzled over there.
I'm just putting together the text for Dave.
Yeah. Sorry. Do I have a mark on my forehead? Are we good?
I don't see one from here.
You would, because it's pretty pretty big platform.
I should have given you more heads up because I saw it happening, and I was like,
oh, thanks, Bohm. Now the truth comes out. Bohm's like, oh no.
I was a deer in headlights.
But yeah, Bohm was just by the time I saw it, it was right here. So I honestly, I feel like Rocky in Rocky 2, when Burgess Meredith, his trainer, of course, Mickey, beloved Mickey, is telling him, like, okay, let me know when you see the finger. This finger coming, and he like right about here is where Rocky's like, oh, I see it. And he's like, damn it, Creed'll crash your side, the side of your head in. And that's about when I saw this thing. So my peripheral vision needs to get better, but we're all good. All right. If you would like to chime in on the show, you can follow us on Twitter at Chico Show CLE, also on YouTube, Chico Borman Show. We are live through those formats, also live on iHeartRadio, where you can stream the show and all of our shows here at Big Play. Also available wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify and Apple are just a couple. Okay, so this win, and we're going to enjoy this, and then we're going to try to do a delicate balance, because I don't want people to think that I am, trying to rain on the parade. It was a great win. I mean, they won 27-0. The defense was phenomenal. Deshaun Watson had a better second half than he did first half. He threw a few footballs in the second half where, especially that rocket where he split the two. And I mean, that was like, okay, we need to see more of that. We have to see more of that. I thought in the first half, one thing is clear, and this is not, maybe it won't be cleaned up anytime soon. Maybe he needs more time, because, I think we always think that this thing is just, you flip the light switch and on you go. And we're finding, and we talked a lot about this, that it's just not that easy to return. And even in his return, and since being eligible, I mean, he has not been able to, throw a lot of passes. He hasn't been able to practice a whole lot. Like, it really is all about that practice. I mean, it really is the reps. Tiger Woods, one of the best of all time. Why did he always practice? Because, when he got out there in the real thing, it was repetition, and it was muscle memory. Jordan, it's the same thing. He's not there yet. A couple things that really concerned me in the first half with Deshaun. He is not a fan of staying in the pocket right about now. And I know you can say, well, the offensive line. Okay, yeah, there were some times the offensive line broke down, but it's like he has absolutely no inclination of hanging in the pocket. He's looking down, and he's running, and that's not good. That needs to get cleaned up. It did a little bit in the second half. But again, you had a game that you had to win, of course. You should have dominated, but, at this point you're going, hey, just find a way to get a W. They did. They shut them out. The defense was terrific. But now you got a whole different test coming up on Sunday. All right, so I got out all the accolades, and I'm just being real when I say this. It's put up or shut up time. Like, if the Browns are for real, and I know that Deshaun is not 100%, well, you can't. But if you are all in with being all in, which they are this season, I mean, from the moves they made in the offseason and, everything that they've done is about winning now, then you've got to find a way, somehow, some way, to beat the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. Is it going to be easy? No. I'm sure many of you saw what they did to the Seattle Seahawks, another NFC division leading team like Detroit was the week before, and they just, I mean, they got annihilated. These guys are, they're clicking, and it's not just on offense. Defensively, that to me is the biggest surprise. We'll talk more about this with Nick Shook tomorrow with the Bold Ball Breakdown. The biggest surprise for me with the Baltimore Ravens is that defensively, there were a lot of questions coming into the season for them about their pass rush, about, they had a lot of injuries, namely, Marlon Humphrey, going down in the secondary, which was already thin to begin with. But, I mean, through 9 games, they have like the similar numbers to what they had in 2000. Now, again, does that mean they're the 2000 Ravens defense? No, but they are a hell of a lot better than I ever imagined they were going to be this year. Kyle Van Noy had some huge plays yesterday against Seattle. Like, they're getting pressure on the quarterback. They made life hell on Geno Smith. So, I mean, this is, I don't want to say it's short-lived. You did what you had to do. You took care of business. But these next 2 games, it's put up or shut up time. Now, I'm not saying that if you lose against Baltimore on Sunday that, you can't be a playoff team. But if you lose against Baltimore and you've lost twice against Baltimore, because obviously we know what they did on our home turf, that was the DTR game and everything, you're going to be fighting an uphill battle. Again, playoffs still possibility, sure, but you don't want to have to go that route. And, we're going to talk to James Rapine coming up in the second hour of the show. The Cincinnati Bengals, they're back. Joey Burrow is back. The defense is definitely back. They were kind of shaky to start the year, but Lou Anarumo on the defensive side of the ball, Joe Burrow, and it wasn't a whole lot of Jamar Chase. I mean, he did it with his tight ends. He's scrambling. He's making plays. He's looking like the old Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, by the way, are in last place in the division. And they might be the best team in the division. I mean, that's how crazy and, up for grabs the AFC North is. I think right now Baltimore is clearly, and they deserve to be the favorite, but who right now wants to count out Cincinnati? No. So the Browns, they're kind of on the outside looking in. I mean, they're right in the hunt, but there's still, at least for me, I'll speak for me here. I'm encouraged, okay? I'll use that word. I'm encouraged by what I saw from Deshaun Watson yesterday. But, folks, it doesn't mean anything if he and this offense come out on Sunday in Baltimore, by the way, and struggle, because this is what it's all about. You say you want to go all in and you want to be a playoff team. You have playoff aspirations. This is a game you've got to win. You've got to win. You've got to win road games in your division. When you talk about teams that go far in the playoffs, teams that win a Super Bowl, they are able to win on the road, and they're able to win on the road in their division. The Browns have had injuries. I got news for you. Baltimore's had a lot of injuries, too. I mean, they're on Keaton Mitchell. Who the hell is Keaton Mitchell? That's their running back yesterday. By the way, he led everybody in the NFL. Keaton Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell walked through. I had no idea, but he's your guy. Gus Edwards is your goal line guy. The Ravens rushed for 300 freaking yards. That's also what's funny about Baltimore now is that after they made the move for Todd Monken as offensive coordinator, we heard a lot of, the Ravens, they're going to be just firing it downfield. And you know what? Go back to my old buddy Jim Marnella. You are, Michael, what you are. Yeah, you're going to take a few more shots down the field, but you know what? You are what you are, and the Ravens at their core want to line up, helmet on helmet, bludgeon you, run the football, and they'll squeak in a big play down the field, but that's where their bread is buttered. It's always going to be buttered, and that's why, they continue to be this great team and this great franchise, because their foundation is as solid as you're going to find. So I want to reiterate, enjoy the win, enjoy your victory Monday. Hopefully you wore your Browns gear if you're allowed. You're talking about the game. That's fine. Tomorrow, I'll tell you what. If the players are off on Tuesday, we'll let you have today and tomorrow to enjoy the Arizona game. But come Wednesday, it's done. Again, be encouraged. Yeah, you saw some things that you like from Deshaun Watson. What scares me about this game on Sunday is that the Ravens, and they've done this twice now. They did it. They did it with Detroit. They did it with yesterday with Seattle. They made Seattle completely one-dimensional. Kenneth Walker is a very good running back, and I think they allowed like 9 yards for him and really nothing on the ground. And then all of a sudden it's, well, Geno Smith's got to throw the ball. They're going to pin their ears back, and then you're in trouble. And that's exactly what the Browns cannot do against this team. If they become one-dimensional on offense, they're going to get their asses kicked. I mean, I want to see them pull this out. But the only way, or maybe the biggest key, in my opinion, to them pulling this out on the road in Baltimore is they cannot be one-dimensional. And you say, well, what if Deshaun's he's not there yet? Even if he is there, you don't want to do that. You don't want to, be one-dimensional and let teams tee off. But they have to, and you know what? The run game's been respectable. You've seen, Kareem Hunt. You've seen Jerome Ford. You've seen Pierre Strong, the back that they got in the trade with New England. So I think you're seeing, and credit to Kevin Stefanski. You know what? Maybe we haven't credited Kevin enough, because they are, in the midst of all this, they are 5-3. They've had a lot of stuff going down. But there's just, in my opinion, these next two games, is it too early to say, and is there too much season left to say make or break? I mean, these are huge games. We're no longer week 3 and week 4. These are back-to-back games against your division rivals, one on the road and one at home.
To me, Chico, the Steelers game 2 weeks from now is more make or break than that Ravens one, because, I mean, the Ravens are just like in total domination mode right now.
Do you feel? Be honest. Do you feel confident the Browns can beat them?
Hoping the Browns look competitive. I'm not going to pick the Browns to win this week, because the Ravens, and especially when you think about the last time that Lamar Jackson faced off against this Browns team, it was maybe his best performance of the season thus far. Like, he was perfect. He was making all the throws on point, dropping dimes, and I mean, you're hosting the Browns this time. They're in his house. I don't know. I don't have very much hope. I haven't seen enough consistency from Deshaun and this offensive line protecting Deshaun to believe that they're going to be able to pull this one out against the Ravens. But I'm hoping it's competitive. Yeah, unlike the last time.
And again, let me. You mentioned Lamar. I mean, I think it goes without saying he's healthy. He's and there are different guys. Like I always say, Lamar Jackson in this case is one of one, in that there are guys that can run, yes. Nobody is as slippery as Lamar Jackson, in my opinion. Kyler Murray's actually close, or at least when things were going well. But Lamar Jackson, there's a fine line between, oh yeah, that guy's mobile, that guy can make plays with his legs, and then there's just like, wait a minute, he's Houdini. How did he get out of that mess in the pocket? Well, that's what Lamar Jackson does. And then he might find somebody downfield, mainly Mark Andrews, maybe Zay Flowers, or he might take it himself. But it's all predicated, and this is the thing, it's all predicated on the run. So what's the other thing that you wanted to do? What's the matter, Bone? Why are you laughing again? What?
No, Dave, I just got a text back from Dave reacting to, informing him of what occurred.
Tell them that I can't. What's my name, Boom? What's the name of this show?
Do you feel concussed?
Do I feel confident? Yeah. Why wouldn't I be confident? I mean, Browns are.
How many fingers am I holding up?
The Browns are 8-0. Why wouldn't I feel confident? Well, I got to play this up.
I'm definitely going back and watching that. I might even cut it for my own TikTok.
That's absolutely. You know, I just, the slow-mo, I want to see at what point. Because, again, it reminds me, for those that did not, you missed it, this little thing, and it happens.
The wall art.
Nobody's fault. Wall art came down.
Collapsed upon Chico's head.
Yes, I mean, somehow I'm able to do it, you know, but I'll just, I'm a gamer, Boom.
Follow the Chico Borman show, and you'll see the highlight.
Good job, Boom. That's why we pay you very well, because you are
at Chico Show CLE.
Good job. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Like, I feel good. I feel great about the defense, but there are two things. Okay, there's a couple things that you in the off season. Getting ready for this season on opening day, we were excited about. Deshaun Watson coming back from last year, you know, everything, and, you know, really balling out. We obviously haven't seen that, and yes, a lot of that is injury and some other things. The other thing, though, and this is where the Browns put money where their mouths are, that is, we got to get better against the run, right? Well, guess what? You've got a team right now that is just bullying teams. They made Seattle, and by the way, Seattle's not a bad defense. I mean, they're young, but they're a good defense. And the Browns or the Ravens just beat the crap out of them up front, and just ran it and ran it and ran it some more. So, you know, those off-season acquisitions, I guess the reason I feel like it's now or never. And yes, it's ridiculous to say that with one game against Baltimore, but they are the division leader by a game and a half. You already lost to them. I think momentum too, like if they're able to win, they're a better team than Pittsburgh. Like they've got, but again, Pittsburgh's going to be no gimme because, well, Mike Tomlin's still the head coach. But I feel like with Baltimore, especially with the way they're playing, like this is exactly last year what, no matter what you said, no matter what you did, they didn't have a prayer in the world of slowing down the Baltimore Ravens. In large part because they didn't have the personnel to slow down the Baltimore Ravens. But this was, you want to talk about priority lists, this was number one, circled on that checklist of things to do for Andrew Berry. Improve your run defense. Get more get more girth between the tackles. And let's get, you know, we got to stop the run. And they were doing that for a while, and then, well, they weren't doing that for a while, and then they got back to it yesterday. But Sunday is an entirely different test. Sunday is, that's why I say Arizona was nice. They needed it. You got it. It was fun. Flush it, because come Sunday ain't going to mean a damn thing.
Yeah, and also, I feel like this Browns defense, they've, as to your point, they've had these like short, brief stretches where they just get gashed in the run game. I feel like when that's happening, the offense is also stagnant. It's almost like the defense has a little bit of wind out of their sails, and so I feel like it's going to be really important for this Browns offense to keep up with the Ravens, because I imagine
run the ball. How about doing it at their own game? Like I said, you can't be one dimensional. And I know we're all going to be looking for, you know, Deshaun, go downfield, and yeah, you want to see him hit a few more of those plays against Baltimore like he did against Arizona. But one thing that Kevin Stefanski did yesterday was hone in on that running game, not give up on the run game, and they've been able to gash a few teams. The problem is on the other side of the ball, and Jim Schwartz talked about it, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah talked about it as well, along with Anthony Walker after last week's game, that, you know, if we're going to do this and we're going to be the defense that we think we are going to be, we got to pay attention to detail. We can't over pursue, and like it's great to have an attacking defense. You want an attacking defense. They have that. They absolutely have that in droves. But part of that is also you got to stay disciplined. And when you're not disciplined, now all of a sudden lanes open up that wouldn't normally be there. Those are the things. And Schwartz he hammered it last week against Arizona, and he's obviously going to need to hammer it again this week against Baltimore. Like if we don't have all 11 guys on the same page, all 11 guys pulling on the same rope, then Baltimore's just going to do exactly what they did to Seattle to you. I mean, that's the way they're playing right now. However, if not, if they do rise to the challenge, and they do, because the personnel, they obviously have that. Now you have yourself a ball game, and then can the offense, do that complementary thing? You're able to run the ball. You're able to eat some clock. Deshaun short passes like he had early in that game just to get a feel. Yeah, I have a headache. What's my name, Boom? Where are we at?
Say my name.
Do we do this? Are we in Nashville? Are we in Kansas? Boom. Where are we?
That would be fun. We're not in Kansas anymore, Chico.
Only if it was Tornado Alley. It's like, but yeah. I see a big lake out there. Is that Lake Michigan? What is it? No?
It might be.
Play this up. All right. Anyway, we're going to take a break. We've got other news going on. As I said, coming up at 1, we will talk to James Rapien. Bengals looked really, really good against the Buffalo Bills last night, not just offensively either. Lou Anarumo's group on defense looking pretty good. Aside from that opening drive, Buffalo really sputtered until the end. But we'll talk to Rapien coming up at 1. The Guardians have named their new skipper. What I don't know is, did they want Craig Counsell? Because everybody just assumes they wanted Craig Counsell, and it was Craig Counsell. What, Bohm? Now what?
Yesterday, I was bamboozled by a fake Cleveland Guardians account that I thought announced Craig Counsell.
Bamboozled?
Yeah, I informed my.
It's a bit of an exaggeration.
No, I was totally fooled. I've been bamboozled. I fell for it.
So what did you do? Start putting it out there?
No, I told.
Did you interrupt Paul Keels and go, Paul, I have breaking news. Before you get to the 2nd and 2, the Guardians have named.
Actually, so peek behind the curtain. Paul Keels did talk to Nathan Zegura about who the next Guardians manager would be.
He's a baseball guy too.
When they were showing Tito, who was at the Browns game, so Nathan told him he had been hearing that the front runner was Craig Counsell. But with that said, I fell for a fake report, and I told my colleague, your former colleague, Mitch Spinell, Mitchapalooza. Shout out to Mitch. I told him the report, and then I realized maybe a minute later,
here we go.
Oh wait, this is fake.
Give me the report. I'll be Mitch Spinell.
Guardians just named Craig Counsell as their new manager.
Whoa. Andy?
Just saw the report 3 hours ago.
Well, I mean,
we were all distracted by the Browns game.
We're not. I don't think it's. I'm happy with Steven Vogt. Again, I don't know. We'll get into this a little bit later, but I really think the biggest thing that you want, you're not going to have Terry Francona, okay? And I know some people, because you got to fire him. But the thing that Terry Francona is known for, and has always been known for, and it's what's going to get him into the Hall of Fame easily, is that he had a way to relate to players. And I think more and more, especially in sports today, but just when you're talking about baseball, 162 games, I mean, that's a long, long time together. And if you're miserable, it's a really, really long time together. Terry Francona had just an incredible ability, and some of it is also having the guys in that clubhouse, but they kind of go hand in hand. I like Steven Vogt. I wonder, I do wonder if Craig Counsell was their top choice, but it wouldn't surprise me in the least if it comes out that, no, you know what, they liked Counsell, and they're not going to say, but Vogt was the guy. Remember, they liked Vogt a lot. It was a few weeks ago where it was oh, this guy really, mean, he's only a year removed from retirement. So he's obviously made some very, very impressive statements, being just 39 years old. Yeah.
Chico, I like that they're going young with this. I mean, he's 39, so I like that there's potential for longevity in that regard. But also, I mean, the insight that we received from your old pal Brett Boone.
Old pal? Why do you?
Because you guys go way back. You know, you've known each other for a few years.
Yeah, I don't know if
I don't know.
It's all right, Bowman. Yeah,
that wasn't the point.
I was picking nits there. I apologize.
Yeah, no problem. I know how it goes because I too pick nits myself. But with that said, no, the insight that he provided on Steven Vogt from his time working together with him when he was a consultant with the Oakland Athletics.
Oakland Athletics. I love how you say Ace.
I mean,
with the Oakland Athletics,
he just sounds like an incredible human. And he sounds like a guy that can resonate with the players. And he sounds like, as a catcher, he has a real feel for the game. And I'm excited to see him get to work in Cleveland. I really like this hire. I'm grateful to have witnessed Brett Boone's insight on it, because otherwise I'd just be like most other fans, like, who is this guy?
You shouldn't be grateful. No, I'm just kidding. No,
It was invaluable insight, Chico.
Yeah, you have been using that word a lot over the last few weeks with that. He admitted, he's like, I can't sit here and tell you I know him really, really well. But Bohm, I'm glad that you found that to be. That's why I wake up in the morning, Bohm. For the on the off chance that you might come back with, Chico, that was some really valuable insight. To hear that, it's like, yeah, that's why we do it. That's why we do it, or at least that's why we say we do it.
Yeah, Chico. I mean, it's cool, like a guy having a guest like Brett Boone, who has that experience with all sorts of different players, umpires, people in different various baseball organizations. There's a lot of stories. There's a lot of networking that has been done that he has plenty to share with us, and it's been great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to transition a little bit. When we come back, it was also a wild weekend in college football. Mentioned Paul Keels not only calling the Browns game yesterday, but also the Buckeyes game on Saturday against Rutgers. We'll talk about that. Possibly a new development with the Michigan Wolverines and Collins Stallions. My bosses knew nothing about this. They had no clue. I totally went rogue. I applaud him for falling on the sword. Anyway, we'll take a break. We'll be back with more wild weekend in college football. Browns with a great, dominant win over Arizona. But how quickly do you flush that and say, oh, my gosh, you got a really, really tough opponent coming up this weekend in Baltimore, taking on Lamar Jackson and company. So we'll talk about that as well. It's the Chico Borman Show. More to come right here on the Big Play Sports Network. All righty, welcome back. Chico Borman Show here on a Monday afternoon, Victory Monday. Yay! Browns 27, Cardinals nothing. Well, I'll tell you what, coming up this weekend, Johnny Unitas and the Baltimore Colts, Bohm, they take on our Browns. Sorry. I'm having like brief moments where I'm in and out. But we're good. We're good. So I'm already getting pushback. Like people are saying, like, you at least allow it. I'm not saying enjoy it. Like they did. They looked dominant yesterday. Okay, defense looked fantastic. Defense, I should say, looked dominant. Offensively, we did see. Thanks, Dave. Problem is fixed. Now, if you can examine my head, that's a whole nother. That's like
Just keep looking left.
That's a week-long issue, though. We need laboratories and fancy MRI machine. Oh, Bohm's just gonna watch it again. Yeah. We got to get that clip. No, I think
this time I'm gonna. Yeah, we do have to get that clip.
Bohm's like the paper towel.
No. I just watched in horror as it all unraveled. Like,
I kind of like standing up. I feel like McAfee or something. Yo, what's up?
We should make it a regular bit where you do a segment standing up.
Yeah,
it's a different energy.
Oh my God, I just saw myself in delay, flailing with my arms. Like, what are you, idiot?
No, you're fine.
So I'm getting pushback. People are telling me that you're kind of being a Debbie Downer already. I'm not being that. I promise I'm not being that. Now, am I really nervous about this game coming up on Sunday? Yes. I feel like we've been here before, but then I also feel like and this is what makes me feel good. I don't know if it makes me feel confident, but like this is what we've been waiting for. Like a game like this where Baltimore's playing very, very well. Look at this as an opportunity. Instead of, oh crap, here come the Baltimore Ravens, which some of us, maybe me at times, are doing. You know what? This is the opportunity that Miles wants, that Dalvin Tomlinson wants, that Zadarius Smith, that Jim Schwartz wants to say, all right, you may have run roughshod, and they did, over the Seattle Seahawks, but we're not the Seattle Seahawks, and you're not going to be running. Because, again, this is a team that has struggled the last few years to stop the run. And, hang on, Boom. And I know you're chomping at the bit there. You're like making love to the microphone. Well, I'll just give me 1 second, and then I'll let you have the platform. This is a team that the last few years, it didn't matter. Like you could say, hey, you know what? Stop the run. Okay, well, schematically, Joe Woods, what? Didn't matter. Personnel, scheme, all of it. None of it added up. Now it does, but you also have a team that this is how they butter their bread. And I know people assumed wrongly, not everybody, but some people assumed, oh, Todd Monken's coming in, so that means Lamar Jackson is just going to be airing it out. Yeah, guess who's still running the ball and running the ball with great efficiency and ran it for 3 bills against Seattle, Baltimore. Keaton Mitchell? Who the hell? Boom, where did Keaton Mitchell go to school?
That one I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, I love how Bohm's like, well, that one you did stump me on. I know you're surprised. But
Random Browns players, maybe there's a chance.
Right, yeah. I want to no, I don't know. I'm going to say Pac-12 school.
He went to the same school as Chris Johnson, former Tennessee running back.
East Carolina?
East Carolina Pirates, baby.
Ooh, okay. All right. Well, he had a big game yesterday against the Seahawks. So, I mean, we're gonna be diving into this big time all week and certainly tomorrow with Nick for the Bold Ball breakdown. But yeah, enjoy it. I'm not saying enjoy it. Deshaun did some things better. Deshaun does have happy feet. One thing, okay, there is one thing that I got to get off my chest. Bohm, I always say, like, do you remember? But you were locked in that radio booth crying whenever Paul Keel said your name. But Adam Archuleta, it was Spero Dides and Adam Archuleta, Didi on the sideline. So Archuleta said at one point, and it was that little flat pass where like his feet were, I mean, he just missed him. And like his footwork, and Archuleta just said, he's like, yeah, because initially you're like, oh, that had to be tipped or something like that. And he's like, no, you know what? Look at his footwork. It just kind of, everything was just awkward there. And then as soon as they pan back to him, he's doing this. Like, no, that's not your shoulder, dude. That's your, and that's why I say, like, these practices and the reps, I don't care who you are. I don't care how great you can play the position. If you haven't played the position in a while or consistently for a while, it doesn't matter. You're going to be in trouble. Like I said, I mean, practice. Tiger Woods was amazing. And yet he'd win a tournament, he'd win a major, and 2 days later he's back pounding balls on the range for 3 or 4 hours. MJ, I mean, it's repetition. And Deshaun doesn't have that. Now, we have talked about between the ears, and is it, I don't know. I mean, obviously I can't speak intelligently to that. I think it's a fairly easy conclusion to draw that maybe some of that is related to it. But I think more than anything else, like that one play to me from Adam Archuleta, and I think he said, you know what? Every start feels like his first start. Because we keep saying like, oh, you know, remember his first start? Every start feels like it's his first start because it was abbreviated or he was supposed to play and he didn't. And so now, like, let's have a good week of practice. Let's have Deshaun continue to look good throwing the football. Let's play complementary football because, again, let me remind you, Seattle, Kenneth Walker did nothing on the ground. And Geno Smith, it was like, here I am, here's the bullseye, pin your ears back, come get me. And they did. I don't know where this pass rush, the pass rush was an area that the Ravens, there were a lot of question marks regarding that this year, or at least in the offseason. Out the window. Very good defense. Very good defense. All right, we got James Rapine coming your way, top of the hour. Locked On Bengals podcast, speaking of teams that looking pretty good. Joe Burrow, I would say pretty confidently that he's 100% after that game against Buffalo. So we'll talk to him coming up after 1. But college football scene, wow. Great weekend of games. The Buckeyes did what they should do. Although I will say this, I'm getting more concerned, Bohm, about Kyle McCord. And maybe he's hurt. Remember I said that to Bill last week, Bill Landis, that like against Wisconsin, he hurt that ankle or whatever it was. I think it was an ankle. And they didn't really talk about it on the broadcast, but it was clear that he was not, 100%. It was clear that it was, he was grimacing and I don't know if that's it. He just doesn't look great. Now, the good news is Travion Henderson, man, if he can run like he's running now and did against Wisconsin, against Michigan, like that's that home run threat, that burst, that, just all you need is a sliver of daylight and he could be gone, is going to be very much needed against Michigan. Because I don't know if McCord, and it's okay. It's his first year. I think we just assume, I've said this before, I think we all just assume that Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields, C.J. Stroud, nice game by your boy yesterday. But like those three guys, it was like, oh, well, this has got to be Kyle McCord. That's not Kyle McCord. Maybe it'll be Kyle McCord next year, maybe the year after, and he could be a bust. I'm not going to say that's too early to say, but I think it's clear that he goes in spurts where he'll look good, which, again, what do young guys do? They look good for a bit, and then they look absolutely clueless. So I would say as far as that Buckeyes game, against Rutgers. Slow start. It's kind of, it's getting on your nerves a little bit, but you're gearing up for Michigan. You're gearing up for November 25th, and hopefully a guy like Kyle McCord is going to play his best football at the end of November.
Yeah, Chico, I think right now it's just too much inconsistency out of Kyle. And he's shown, like, he made some big boy throws in that game, as he has every game, but it's just too infrequent, right? Like that touchdown to G. Scott was where only G could catch it. And he had a couple to Marv that were, I think, spectacular.
You love the big boy throws, like which is okay.
I mean, that was an elite college football throw, like plain and simple. That was elite. That play, his throw, it was absolutely flawless. But he's not doing it enough. It feels like it's not all totally pieced together. And you're right. Maybe I do wonder if that has anything to do with him not being 100%. But I hope that Ryan Day continues to be aggressive, because I feel like that's when Kyle McCord operates at his best, is when he's pushing it downfield. He really can make some of those big-time throws. But the offensive line is another concern that I have in that regard, because sometimes it feels like he's just not being protected as well as he should be. You expect when you're Ohio State, you should have one of the best offensive lines in the country, but it doesn't feel like that's the case right now. And I think that is, to some extent, rattling McCord a little bit. I think that it makes it tougher for him to push the ball downfield when you're getting pressured, like, right away, which is happening more than I would like.
Around college football, I was tweeting out on Saturday, those two games, granted not much defense, but Alabama LSU and USC Washington was pretty damn good entertainment. Alabama, I thought in the second half, and clearly I ticked off an LSU fan. I didn't even know I was followed by an LSU fan. All I said was in the second half, Alabama was just beating the crap out of them up front. I mean, they were just mauling LSU, running at will. Milroe, I'll tell you what, you talk about a guy that looks entirely different than he did beginning of the season, that would be Jalen Milroe. But in the second half, man, Alabama was just beating the crap out of LSU up front. And then USC Washington. And by the way, I don't know what it is, if it's Caleb Williams because he was crying towards the end of the game or at the end of the game. I've heard people say, I don't know about him as like a QB1 or what. Like, yeah,
I did have that on Fair or Foul.
Did you? Okay, good. Well, I mean, it's okay. We can repeat it. It's not. We won't. There's no discipline for that. Yeah, I'll just say, like, briefly. Then I won't go into detail, but if somebody's going to say that, they haven't watched this kid. I mean, he is incredible, incredibly athletic, incredibly accurate, cannon for an arm. I mean, they can't stop anybody. Alex Grinch was fired. And that pained Lincoln Riley because that's his boy he had at Oklahoma, and he didn't want to do it midseason, but he didn't have a choice. USC could not stop anybody. What's weird is I agree with Ari Wasserman. I think Oregon is probably a better team than Washington all around, even though they lost to Washington head-to-head. And that goes back, for me, that's your buddy Dan Lanning, who you think walks on water. You can't criticize Dan Lanning, Chico. Like Dan Lanning of all. I never know where your allegiances lie, but I'll be honest with you, that one caught me off guard. I'm like, yeah, boy, he did not, because, like, go back and watch or even read the Oregon-Washington game. Go back and read, like, he had, like, 3 different calls there, 4th down calls, where it's like, wait, what is he thinking? And you were like, it was almost like a Britney Spears type thing. Like,
leave Dan Lanning alone.
He shouldn't even be on the sidelines for you people. Leave Dan alone. All right. We are anxiously awaiting the arrival of James Rapine, who will be joining us talking Bengals. Again, if you're just tuning in, Okay, John, that was a very good tweet. The Guardians have named Steven Vogt as their 45th manager. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up my buddy Anthony Kastrovitz, who we know loves the puns. By the way, Shooky with a great pun in his write-up for the Browns, but we'll save it for tomorrow.
That's a tease.
Castro says for the 45th manager in franchise history, a vote for 45 and 24 that isn't controversial. Vote, V-O-G-T. It's Castro. Follow him at Kastrovitz. I like the hire. Again, you know, I realize, and I know this already. I mean, whoever you bring in, there are going to be people in this town, some we won't name, who just baseball is simply a bridge to football. That's okay. And also don't understand that, like, if a catcher catches 2 nights in a row, he's probably not going to catch the following day if it's a day game. But that's okay. I digress. So there's going to be some that just criticize this anyway. But I truly believe is James there? Oh, I truly believe that, like, this is. I'm not going to. I don't want to say best hire, but I think Steven Vogt is one of those guys that has been talked about quite a bit in a short amount of time. And you can say, well, I want more experience. Boom, we don't agree on a lot, but I kind of do like the idea of being a younger manager. Not only just being a younger manager, but a guy that isn't that far removed from playing, like just a couple of years. Was the bullpen coach in Seattle last year. He's a catcher. Now that maybe sometimes we overrate that sort of thing, but the catcher does kind of he has to be a cerebral guy, has to be somebody that can communicate, obviously, because you're handling a pitching staff and guys go down and language barriers. And so, yeah, that's all very, very important. I think Steven Vogt fits that bill. I think he's a guy that those guys are going to like, and I don't care what anybody says. Like, I always go back to Philadelphia with Joe Girardi. Joe Girardi was a great baseball guy. He was a red ass. I mean, he was, you know, when he played, he was that way. When he managed. So all of a sudden he goes to Philly, and, like, nobody liked him there. I mean, the younger guys, sorry, Dave just peeked in and wanted to see if it was still standing. We had a little accident. But the younger guys, now do we have him? We got there he is. Look at that handsome young lad we have right here joining us. All right, let's head out and talk to our buddy James Rapine here on the Chico Borman Show after the Bengals knock off the Bills. They've won 4 in a row. Mm-hmm. And James Rapine joins us now. He's the host of Locked On Bengals. He also has that book out. And kids, Christmas is right around the corner. Boom, if you're good, I might get it for you. It's Enter the Jungle. Only if you can tell me, Boom, who James Brooks is. Do you remember James Brooks? I know, well, obviously Rapine wrote about him. He better know.
Former Bengals linebacker.
Running back. Not bad, Bohm. Not bad. It was close. Very good one, too. Very good one. Rapine, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good. Chico, how are you?
If I put on headphones. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, I when you were introducing me, I said, speaking of younger guys, you got me.
That's absolutely you. 4 in a row for this Bengals team. And not just – so take me back, because I remember having this conversation, and I know the narrative there for a while was, the Bengals they're going to get it going, right? I mean, Joe Burrow's going to get help. But I also think there was a thought, maybe I'm wrong, that, maybe he does get it going, but maybe they're kind of too far out of this by the time that he gets it going, and maybe, it's just not going to be there. And then all of a sudden it was like, poof, Joe Burrow's back, Cincinnati's back. Was there ever a point where, like, the fans were kind of getting a little nervous, like, how long is this going to take for Joey Burrow and this offense to get going?
Certainly. I think, you start 0-2, and he suffered the setback against the Ravens in week 2. And, you restrain that calf in a different area. And he's told us that it's a different area or was a different area. And you have 8 days before that Monday night game against the Rams, and you're 0-2 and your quarterback's hurt. And I think there was a lot of uncertainty there. And he goes out, throws 49 passes, which was just insane in the moment. He couldn't move, and they find a way to beat the Rams. And then 6 days later, you go to Tennessee. Everyone thinks, oh, you can right the ship. You can beat the Titans. And the Titans just crush you. It's not close. Burrow can't move. He's getting crushed. And I think that was honestly a familiar feeling, a similar feeling to Halloween last year and how that team felt after the loss to the Browns, where it was just ugly. No one expected it to be that one-sided. It's a drivable game for fans. And so on the drive back from Tennessee, it was like, well, what is this team? Are they going to be able to overcome it? Should they sit Burrow? And to his credit, he found a way to continue to play through it. Gradually got better. He showed a little bit against Arizona, got a little bit better the following week against Seattle. And then the past couple of weeks, it's looked like Joe Burrow. So, yeah, I think there was some real doubt outside of the building. And I think there was maybe not doubt inside the building, but questions, because you can't control how the calf heals. And so I'm sure that there were people in the building saying, all right, well, what the hell are we going to do if Burrow can't move for the next 6 weeks or so? So obviously it didn't take that long, and he was able to bounce back, and they've bounced back in a big way.
And I thought the other thing that was impressive last night is you'd think, okay, well, they won and he looked good. So, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I mean, tight ends involved. Like, that's where you start. I think just here in Cleveland, or if you're just around the AFC North, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, you're going, oh, boy. Like, he's hitting on all cylinders, and they didn't really need Jamar Chase to go off. They didn't need T. Higgins to go off. He was utilizing 2 tight ends. I mean, that offense seemed to be really, really humming.
On the first 2 drives, he had completed passes to 7 different receivers, or 7 different pass catchers, not wide receivers. And that gives you an idea of how this offense, how they hope to operate. Now, there'll be games, of course, where T. Higgins, and he had 100 yards last night, but goes off and has 200 yards and multiple touchdowns. Same thing with Jamar Chase. Like, there will be games that way. But to have the tight end step up, it's huge for this offense, because that was such a big question mark going into the trade deadline. I was on the train of get someone. If you don't trust the guys that you have, get someone. And it didn't feel like they did trust this tight end room in the passing game. But they elevated Tanner Hudson, or signed him to the active roster from the practice squad. He looked good yesterday, had 4 catches. The tight end room in general just played really well. 10 receptions on 13 targets for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. Irv Smith Jr. had his best game. Drew Sample making a defender miss in space.
That was
really nice.
That was a hell of a play. Yes.
And so, what tight end problem? Clearly, they have 3 tight ends that are elite pass catchers, and I say that tongue in cheek, but I do think that the tight end room can, if they play like that and can deliver here and there, that's all you need from the tight end room here in Cincinnati, because of the other firepower they have on offense.
Okay, so much of the focus, and justifiably so, we're talking to James Rapien, Bengals victorious last night against the Bengals. He joins us here on the Chico Borman Show on the Big Play Sports Network. So the offense is the focal point. Joe Burrow's health, certainly understand that. Defensively, they've kind of been up and down, but I can honestly say I probably felt more confidence, because I didn't, like you said, with Joe's calf, you just don't know. Like, I mean, is that going to linger? At some point, like when they were talking about, well, is Cincinnati going to be okay defensively? I'm like, guys, Lou Anarumo is just too good of a defensive coordinator for that to be like a season-long thing. And even going into this game, you look at stats, I thought they looked pretty damn good, and it seemed like they may have taken a turn and turned that corner with that performance last night.
I agree. I think the past couple of weeks, they've started to look like themselves on defense, and that's why it was the perfect storm early on, because it wasn't just Burrow's hurt. T. Higgins struggled.
Yeah,
this run game wasn't working, and the defense couldn't tackle. They were giving up big plays. It was just a bunch of stuff that was going wrong, and in recent weeks, they haven't been giving up as many big plays here and there, but last night it wasn't too bad, which I think is a step in the right direction. They've been able to tackle, And then they're forcing turnovers. And Cam Taylor-Britt, 3 interceptions in the past 4 games. Obviously, his interception last night helped swing the momentum a bit, even though the Bengals didn't score on the ensuing possession. And then Jermaine Pratt, back-to-back weeks, forcing turnovers in the red zone that take points off the board for the opponent. 49ers, Brock Purdy, I thought, made a decent decision there, and Pratt just made a great play last week where he tips the ball to himself on an interception. And then last night, the heads-up play to force the fumble. Nick Scott recovers, and that's just a huge momentum swing for sure when you're able to do that. And so this defense, I agree with you. Lou Anarumo is a great defensive coordinator. I know some fans here in Cincinnati are sick and tired of broadcasters mentioning it because they want to hide him and not let him leave. Unfortunately, I don't think that'll necessarily be the case this offseason if he keeps coaching that way. But yeah, they're a really talented unit. Their front seven's pretty much intact from last year. And so I always thought they were going to turn it around. They're not perfect yet. I think there's some stuff that they could clean up, but they are one of the better defenses in the league. They're not like your unit up there in Cleveland, but they are a really good defense, no doubt.
That's true, but I also think on the offensive side that, might. So the scales even out because that quarterback.
I didn't mean. I wasn't talking offense now. I don't.
No. I know. I was just evening out the scale. I'm curious. I like to ask this. My buddy Carrington Harrison and KC and others that we talked to. Like, what are the thoughts of? Now it's not like Cincinnati's 3,000 miles away, but what are Bengals fans' thoughts of what's like looking at this Browns team? They're going to get a rematch, and we all know that they weren't even close to being what they are now in week 1. What are the Bengals fans and what do you hear as far as the look, the talk about the Browns this year so far?
I think people, and it was my takeaway after week 1, despite Burrow and all of those things, this defense is elite and they're a problem. It's a tough matchup. We knew it going in, certainly know it now. And just talking to people, I think everybody buys that aspect of the Browns. And I don't know how you can't at this point. And it's not like it's a 1-week sample size. It's half a season. And man, the Cardinals didn't give that rookie much of a chance, huh? Going into that game, I'm like, oh man, yeah.
Thanks,
I don't blame them for not starting Kyler Murray either. I wouldn't have done that coming off of an ACL, but oh Lord, that's a tough one. So yeah, I think people really really respect the defense, and they know that could be a matchup that, who knows, has the division on the line potentially. Certainly playoff seeding could be on the line, and there's a ways away, but the Browns are certainly. I don't think Bengals fans, put it this way, I don't think Bengals fans look at the Browns as the worst team in the AFC North by any stretch. I think they're like, all right, they're really good. The Ravens are really good. The Steelers, I think they think the Steelers might be the worst team in the division. But even if they are the worst team in the division, I think they're pretty darn good. At least that's my opinion.
You don't want to bet against Mike Tomlin. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't think they have the talent, nearly the talent that the other teams do in the division. But, if you're willing to roll the dice and gamble against Mike Tomlin, God bless you, is what I would say.
Yeah. They're winning despite their offense having all those issues. That's the same thing with the Browns. It's not like it's been perfect on offense, like you mentioned. But if you can win that way, it gives you time to figure things out, and that defense will travel anywhere. There isn't a team in the AFC that is going to be excited to see that defense. And that goes for the Steelers too, I think. I think the Steelers defense is legit as well. He's
James Rapine. Again, you can host. He can host. You can catch him. He's the host of Locked On Bengals, Locked On the NFL. Also, you can catch him on YouTube. And, of course, the new book is out, Enter the Jungle. Check that out. As I say, Christmas is right about a month away, if I can spit that out. I was thinking about this yesterday, and I texted this to you. You may have thought I was joking when I texted it to you, but this is true. Bohm, you can attest to this. So a long time ago, I don't even know if Tay-Tay had her driver's license at this point, but Tay-Tay is what I affectionately call her, is Taylor Swift. We're on a buddy-buddy basis. So Tay-Tay had this song called Tim McGraw. And
it's her first single, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. See, somebody actually, I brought it up to somebody else. Bohm, it might have been you, and you were like, no, I don't remember that song. I knew you don't categorize yourself as a bona fide Swiftie, dude.
I'm not a Swiftie, but I did make an all too well 10-minute version TikTok cover this past week.
I don't think. Yeah, I think you're. If you are allowed to get in, and we'll let Rapine be the determining factor there, but I don't think you can be a Swiftie and not know the Tim McGraw song. So I remember when she sang it at the CMAs a long time ago. I had hair. I was doing country radio and sports radio and good old Erie, PA, and I remember
I think it came out in 07. I want to guess. So
yes,
maybe 06 or 07.
Yeah, exactly. Right around that time. And I remember McGraw sitting, and I just remember thinking, I still think this today. I said this last week. You're Tim McGraw. You're married to Faith Hill. You're one of the best country artists of all time, and at the time nobody knew that Tay-Tay. Well, maybe I did. I was probably calling it, predicting it, but nobody knew that Tay-Tay would be this global icon that she is. So you're Tim McGraw, and you're like, yeah, married to Faith Hill, and Taylor Swift wrote a song. Oh, what's the name of the song? Tim McGraw. I would think that's the I guess I'm trying to. Oh, that's it. I mean, if you're Tim McGraw, which is bigger, like married to Faith Hill or having Taylor Swift? And I'm being serious here. Having Taylor Swift make a song and its title is your name.
I actually would say married to Faith Hill. Part of it is because there are a lot of people that don't remember that song, to your point, that have jumped on the bandwagon over the past even 10 years, right, with Taylor Swift. And so you don't remember it. They remember the pop part of it, of her career, but she was a country music artist initially, which just shows her range, I'll say. But no, it's close. And I think it's hilarious you bring that song up because I love it. What do you mean, Tim McGraw? Like before I heard the song and then I heard it, I'm like, oh, that's good. But I don't think many people thought she would be what she is. Like this level of popularity is really, really hard to predict. And it would be nice, by the way, for my fantasy team if she would tell Travis to wake up. Just saying.
See, you can't.
I'm just saying.
You can't have it both ways. Like, yeah, I mean, she's taken now. Now, and I know you're a happily married guy and you have a family, but I don't think you can have it both ways. I don't think you can say like, well, I'm not really comfortable somebody dating Tay-Tay, and then at the same time say, hey, you're not producing. You're not. By the way, did you see the picture of Bernie Kosar? Did you see that?
Yeah, that made no. How does that work? Why was he in Kansas City? It was in Kansas City, right? I think.
He's friends. I mean, obviously the Kelseys,
sure.
And they grew up Cleveland Browns fans and wearing his jersey, so they have a relationship. They're friends, and yeah, he was out there hanging with Tay-Tay.
See, obviously Travis is a Bearcat. When we worked together, I interviewed him at the All-Star game when it was in Cleveland. There are obvious ties to Travis.
Sure.
In Cincinnati with the Bearcat. I'm gonna do that. I'm pulling the Bernie, and I'm gonna get into one of these. It can't be on an NFL Sunday. I'm busy on those days, but gonna get into one of these Taylor Swift exclusive parties and take a picture.
Okay, last thing for you, buddy. If you're gonna, if I'm coming to you for advice, scary, I know, but
that is very scary.
Better than the opposite. If I say to you, okay, James, I want to listen to more Taylor Swift, like the Tim McGraw song, genuinely, I like it. Is there like an order I should go? Like, I mean, I don't want to be stupid and sound like it's a Hardy Boys mystery novel that you got to go in chronological. But is there, if I want to dip my toes in the water and see what I like, where do I begin as far as Tay-Tay's music?
My favorite album of hers, and her version just came out. It's 1989. And I love all of the different songs, ranges. Blank Space is obviously on there. That's where I would start. But yeah, there's a lot of Shake It Off is on there. I'm sure you remember that song.
Sure.
That was like the main hit. And then Blank Space. The first time I heard Blank Space, I was like, oh, this is going to be a hit single. And that's when Shake It Off was just popping. And then sure enough, a month later or so, it picked up and it became a really popular song. So I would start with that album, but that's me. I'm biased with it. I think that's her best album.
That's okay.
It depends what you're in the mood for. She has such range, man. Like she's got good slow songs. She's got some good fast paced songs that'll get you excited and hyped. It depends what the mood is. Hey, you could just go to Spotify and just hit that shuffle button on Taylor Swift radio, and there you go.
Yeah, Bohm. Do you have any thoughts on this? I'm just curious.
I mean, to me personally, Midnight's was actually her most recent album. It's my favorite but that's the first one of all of her discography where I've listened like front to back.
Look at you dropping discography like.
Well,
it's
she made a
nobody's
song with
business.
Lana Del Rey, Chico. I had to check it out. I had to give it the full deep dive.
Bohm gets really excited, downright tearjerker when he mentions Lana Del Rey. Let me
Also, the album I think it's the Bad Blood out. Is that what she called it? Bad Blood. The one that has "So It Goes" on it. That's a great one. I love the hip hop beats.
I just remember, Rapine, you were naming some of those songs. Shake It Off. And here's me.
Yeah.
They're doing a segment on some show. I don't know where it is. It's like an NFL Live or maybe NFL Network, whatever. And all it was cliches that were song titles. Now I'm none the wiser because I'm sitting there watching that like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Shake It Off. Why did they just throw
Bad Blood is on 1989.
And again, they're like, yeah, there's a lot of bad blood there, and they just need to shake it off. And I'm like, why are they making these stupid cliche And then I find out they're Tay-Tay songs. So
there you go. 1989, Chico, and you could start with Bad Blood on the album.
Is that Bad Blood? Sounds like it would be like a Michael Jackson Bad song, like I'm bad. It's not like. Is this a slow song? What is bad?
No, it's like a breakup song.
Oh, she's got a lot of those.
Now we got Bad Blood. See,
that's where, like, if you're Travis, I mean, not to go too. I know you're a little busy here, but
they're going to use this song when the Bengals play the Chiefs on New Year's Eve. That'll be the song CBS uses. Oh, for sure.
Well, Jason, his brother, and it was genuine when he said it. Like, he was totally heartfelt. He's like, I mean, this is awesome. Don't get me wrong, but I'm a little worried because, like, pissing off Travis's girlfriend and then pissing off Tay-Tay and her whole legion of fans like you. Like, I could see you go Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding with the baseball bat. Like, you see, did you cheat on Tay-Tay? Bam, baseball bat to the back of the knee. I mean, like, and that's where Jason's like, these people, they really love her, and if something happens, they break up. I'm a little worried for Travis, and he was dead serious when he said it.
Well,
just treat her well.
When I think Travis knows the pool he's jumping into.
Now,
like level of fame. I think he knew. He wants it. Travis wants to be a Hollywood star. Let's be real.
He does.
I mean, he wants that. This is helping him. I don't know if it'll last. Maybe it will. If so, that's great because I, again, hope to crash one of his parties with Taylor there. But if not, that's okay too.
Who's cooler, Travis Kelce or Joe Burrow? They're both pretty cool dudes.
Define cooler, right? Like cooler under pressure, do you mean? Or like a cooler hang, a more fun hang?
I mean, Q rating. I'm sorry, not under pressure. Like Q rating. Like
Q rating.
Like,
ooh.
Like
it's close because I think there are a lot of people that are annoyed about like Travis and seeing him. Because have you noticed the ads? That man's making 7 figures in ad revenue right now daily with all of his commercials. And then obviously all the Taylor stuff. At the same time, I think, and you would know this better than me, being in a different market, but I think Burrow's viewed as a villain in some of these markets and viewed as this guy that has overachieved versus what his stats are and all of those things. Now, I don't believe that, but I think it's interesting. Now, the Q rating here, I think Burrow's is higher than Travis's in Kansas City. Just because
I would agree with that. Yeah, I'm sure that's probably right.
He's like the savior here, and not that Travis isn't really high up in KC.
He's got to share that with Mahomes in Kansas City, whereas Burrow, I mean, I'm not saying there aren't other stars, but it's Burrow, and it's Burrow, period.
Yeah, and then it's Jamar, right?
Right.
Like Travis is like the Jamar, vice versa. Yeah.
Man, this is
which is still a great big star, but Travis is trying to pass all of them. Like there's a chance he's and he may already be. I don't know. I haven't looked at social media and stuff. He may be the biggest star in the NFL right now.
I told Bohm, if you're Capital One, do you capitalize, pardon the pun, on, because they do, Taylor has a commercial with them. Do you then bring Travis in and kind of like the NFL, like they're absolutely leaning into this while they can, getting it as much as they can. If you're Capital One, do you risk like doing the commercial with the two of them as a couple, but knowing that in 2 months it could fall flat and you can't use it anymore? Like how do you go about that? I mean, these are the marketing genius ideas that I come up with when I'm not.
How much would it cost to get Taylor in a commercial? I don't know if they got the.
I mean, Capital One has her in one, right? Yeah, she
do they?
Yeah, remember the one where like the guy, like he can't believe this is awesome. This is why I love Rapine. Where like I think he's pouring a drink, and then like she comes up to the bar and is like saying something, and he can't believe it's like Taylor Swift, and he just keeps the drinks overflowing, and she just kind of does her little eye wink, and that's that. Yeah, that's why I brought that up, because when I saw her in a commercial.
Well, then you do it. Yeah, then you do it.
Even if there's a fear that 60 days, what happens if something happens? You still gotta take advantage.
In fact, I'm calling it now. It'll be a Super Bowl commercial.
That was my only bold prediction for the.
The Chiefs might not be in the Super Bowl, but it'll be a Super Bowl commercial.
Rapine, you're the best. Check him out. Locked On Bengals, Locked On NFL. You can also find him on YouTube, and of course. Do not forget, the book is out. Enter the Jungle. Boom. I'll get you a copy. You can read all about James Brooks, Ickey Woods, all those guys. Isaac Curtis, Dan Ross.
Ickey Woods is on our wall.
He's on our wall? Why is Ickey?
Right next to you, actually.
Holy cow. I wish he could. Yeah. Why is Ickey? Oh, he was on with. Okay. Yeah. He was. Okay. All right. He's
on the Hanford show sometimes.
He's right. He literally is right next to my ball dome on the wall, Rapine. You would love this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
You would love this. Hey, man, I appreciate it.
I feel sorry for Ickey.
Kind of. Yeah, I do too. I'm not going to lie. I hate to go into the weeds with you all the time with this, but, the Tay-Tay thing, I can't help myself. You know what I mean? I'm enamored.
Hey, we don't have any bad blood, Chico. It's all right.
Shake it off, man. Just shake it off. Keep up the good work. We'll talk to you soon, buddy. I don't know if that's one of her songs too, but we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me on and allowing me to fill this blank space in my life. I'll talk to you later, Chico.
James Rapine, love him. 1989. So that's where I'm gonna go with this, Boom. 1989, and we'll see. See what happens. I'm gonna dip my toes in the water. I've been listening to a lot of that Tim McGraw song, though. I'm not going to lie. A lot. All right, we'll take a break. We come back, a little fair or foul with Mr. Bombastic, and also wrapping up the big news of the day, obviously Victory Monday, huge win over the Cardinals, huge foe coming up Sunday, and Guardians naming their new manager. It is Steven Vogt, replacing – I shouldn't say replacing, but succeeding Terry Francona. So we'll talk more about that before we get out of here at 2 o'clock. Chico Borman Show, more to come right here on the Big Play Sports Network. Welcome back, Chico Borman Show on this Monday afternoon, folks. If you need bet credits for football season, the Big Play Network is presented by Tipico Sportsbook. The Tipico Sportsbook app has your traditional bets like the money line, spread, and point totals, but you can also lock in player props and check out our Big Play boosts every single week to back your favorite Cleveland teams and athletes with the best odds in Ohio. Get in the action, load up for football season using promo code CHICO150. That's CHICO 150 to get $150 in bet credits on us plus a $30 dog pound bet. Bet with the Big Play crew all season long with Tipico Sportsbook. Without further ado, it's time for another edition of Fair or Foul.
All right, Chico. Well, I want to kick things off in the NFL, where we've been talking about the Ravens. Obviously, the Browns have the big matchup with them coming up on Sunday. With that, I want to ask you, Chico, fair or foul? Because to me, it feels like the Ravens are hitting on all cylinders right now. They're just, for the past few weeks, they've dominated everyone that they've come up against. Fair or foul, the Baltimore Ravens are the best team in the NFL right now.
You know, I'll go fair with that. I mean, if you're asking me, and again, this is the beauty of the NFL season, is that 3 weeks ago, we all thought San Francisco was, without question, the best team in football, and they were at the time. I mean, you're talking about, put it this way, I think I wrote this stat down. So Baltimore has played 3 teams with a winning record. You want to take a guess of what they've, obviously they're 3-0. But you know what the differential is point-wise? Boom.
I know it's a pretty big differential.
103-12.
Woo!
Yes, that is a big point difference. That's a big diff that used to be. I don't know if do they still have that on the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, the diff?
Probably.
That diff would be what would that be, Boom? That would be 91. Yeah, diff 91. So, yeah, I'm going, I'd absolutely right now go with the Ravens. And as I said earlier, we'll get more into this even today, but certainly this week and certainly tomorrow at noon with Nick Shook in the Bold Ball Breakdown. It's not just the offense. Defensively, an area where a lot of question marks they had coming into the season with their pass rush, with their back end, with Marlon Humphrey out, and they have just, I mean, Kyle Van Noy, a recent pickup, he has been outstanding. They're nasty. So this is not just a good football team, a great football team with Lamar Jackson. They're doing it on both sides of the ball, which I think is a little bit surprising considering what we expected going into the year.
Yes, certainly a tough test looms on Sunday, and hopefully it doesn't turn out disastrous. But before we get to that point, I thought it was interesting. I saw a media member mention that Kevin Stefanski should be inserted into the conversation for Coach of the Year. Now, fair or foul, Chico, because obviously Stefanski has come under a lot of fire from a certain selection of Browns fans. Fair or foul, you buying Kevin Stefanski as a reasonable Coach of the Year candidate here this season?
I mean, okay, through 9, there's still a lot of football to be played.
For sure.
Do I think he's done a pretty good job? Yeah, I think he deserves some of the criticism, too, that has come their way. But do I think, all things considered, they're 5-3? Knowing what we know now, if you would have told us at the beginning of the season that they would lose Nick Chubb in week 2 and that Deshaun Watson will have only played going into this past week against Arizona, will have only played one good game, and that was against Tennessee, and he'd been banged up, I think you would have been like 5-3. Hell yeah, where can I sign up? So, there are some things that he's done very well. A lot of season, and you know what? Big 2 games coming up. On the road at Baltimore, home to Pittsburgh. I think that could, if we want to realistically put him in that conversation, he realistically has to, do something with these next 2 games.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I mean, like that
Thanks, Bo.
whole conversation could go out the window next week, depending on how things fare with Baltimore. But with that said, Chico, we've gone too long without discussing anything about C.J. Stroud on this show today. Because
you know what? C.J. Stroud Day. You go ahead. Wow.
Hey, I love the C.J. Stroud versus Baker Mayfield matchup. I kind of root a little bit for both of them. I'm not exactly thrilled with how things ended for Baker in Cleveland. I still root for the guy. He's a hard worker, good person, and all that. But what a showdown! And C.J. Stroud leading the Texans down with 46 seconds left on a touchdown game-winning drive. I was so happy for C.J. I watched his entire post-game press conference. He's an incredible human. That's a leader of men, Chico.
Like he's philanthropic or something. He's an incredible human. Shouldn't even perform for you guys out there. Yeah, he's an incredible quarterback. And, seems like a good guy. I'm not saying that. But what he's doing as a rookie, I just love it even more. Like, honestly, trying to put the Buckeye thing aside, I love it even more because, what was that new, it's kind of like the new, what's the Wonderlic or whatever, and they
that S2 cognitive
remember him
test?
Getting crushed for that?
Yeah.
Like, well, this lines up with last one in and first to leave, which was total BS. It makes it even more good for him. Good for him. He's done very well. I think he's got a good coach. For once, I think they have a good organization where they've got some, idiots.
I like those receivers too. Former Buckeye Noah Brown.
I'll say
Tank Dell.
Yeah, Tank Dell, Nico Collins. I think those guys are very underrated. Like, I keep hearing, like, oh, he's doing it with a bunch of nobodies. Well, they're young. That doesn't mean they're nobodies. Tank Dell and Nico Collins aren't that bad. But he's – and I saw that game yesterday. I think they went to it following the Browns game. And Baker, I thought that was going to be the conversation. Like, Baker
looked great.
Great drive through a dart. To, we all thought, win it, but then CJ, as you mentioned, gets the ball with 46 seconds left and goes right down. You could see, did you see Baker's face afterwards?
I felt bad for him seeing that face.
He was just looking straight ahead like,
helpless.
Did this just happen? What the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Incredible.
I was so happy for CJ though. And what I want to ask you, Chico, is because right now it feels like it's kind of, as far as the NFL MVP goes, it feels like it's very up in the air. Patrick Mahomes is not quite dominating like you might expect. We're starting to see the resurgence of Joey B down in Cincy. But fair or foul, Chico, C.J. Stroud can enter himself into the MVP conversation if he continues to put up performances like this.
Well, performances like this are close to 500 with 5 touchdowns. No, but you know what? There was a time this year you would have brought this up, and I may have, been like, "Boom, get out of here." Seriously, like literally, get out of the studio. That's ridiculous. You're right about Mahomes. I don't think he will. I think there's going to be. I always say it, and everybody knows it. Defenses, NFL defenses, coordinators, they're finding, okay, what's your tendencies? What they're going to start to figure a few things out. But again, how do you adjust to those adjustments? CJ has been, and I think this goes back to, and this is what I think we all loved about him at Ohio State. And I know I mentioned this to you, Bohm, that Ryan Day said, like, this guy played point guard in in high school, and was a terrific point guard in basketball. And he kind of runs the offense similarly. And that's a high compliment. That's just, hey, I'm the leader. I know how to, run this thing. And he's been outstanding. So I'm going to go fair on that right now because he's played terrific football, and there really isn't anybody, I don't think, that is just running away with things. So, yeah, put him in that conversation.
Yeah, that was just an absolutely elite performance, and I am starting him in fantasy this week over Patty Mahomes going into the bye. So fingers crossed. Let's hope it continues.
All right, those of you that are driving and you didn't quite catch that, Bohm is going to be starting. That's right. He said starting C.J. Stroud
on my team, Shanahanigans,
just to make sure that everybody's okay. Go. You don't want to let that just sneak by anybody.
Could you tell that I'm saying Shanahanigans, or does it just sound like I'm stuttering
It's
when I
just
say
bad.
shenanigans?
I don't want to acknowledge it because it's so bad. That's all it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our pal Ronald brings up an interesting question. Shout out to Ronald. Thanks for chiming into the show. Asking about who you think the best replacement could be for Jedrick Wills. Obviously, that was a tough injury. You hate to see him being so emotional, getting carted off the field.
It's Hudson.
So one concept that was discussed that I want to bounce off you, Chico, fair or foul, shifting Joel Bitonio to left tackle. He was a left tackle in college. He has taken reps at left tackle before.
No.
You don't like that strategy over Hudson?
I'm not a big fan of doing that, and it's not that Joel can't handle it, but like I think trying to do that middle of the season, I mean, especially like now you got Baltimore, James Hudson's not terrible. I mean, he's not. I don't look at him and go, oh my gosh, he's going to get killed anymore. And I'm not trying to, kick Jed when he's down, but like, you're telling me James Hudson is that much more of a liability than Jed Wills? I don't think so. But to your point, I'm not a big fan of doing that. I know he played some of that at where do you go? Idaho, I think.
Nevada,
that's right. I'm never a big fan of that unless James Hudson is so bad that they have no other choice, then you do it. But I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah, and I am a little worried about the offensive line, especially going into Baltimore.
Well, I'm worried about Deshaun Watson with any offensive line because one thing that he did do yesterday, and I know he had some good throws, but, man, he looked like at the first sign of any pressure, he was bailing that pocket, like, in no time. And, okay, sometimes that's okay, but he just doesn't seem to have that feel. Now, he got better as the game went on, and that's important to note, and you hope that carries over. But unfortunately, the defense is going to be much, much better than he's going to be facing coming up on Sunday.
Yeah, no, so let me ask you this. Last NFL question I have for you before we move on to the college game.
Yes, Bo. Yeah.
Is it fair or foul to be concerned about Deshaun not necessarily having answered whether he can rise to the occasion in a road atmosphere, like in a road game environment? Is that a legitimate concern? Do you find that fair or foul?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, home or away. Here's the thing. He might feel less pressure on the road because of just, I think it's still out there. Like yesterday was great. They won, and he got better as the game went on, but it's not like he just lit the world on fire. He might be, and some guys are like that, especially at that position, like, wow, I want to do so well in front of the home fans that being on the road is almost like a sigh of relief. So I think, unfortunately, my answer is until he gains more consistency and more reps, period, home or away, I'm going to be concerned. It's just, I'm not knocking him. I'm just being realistic.
Yeah, I'm with you in regards to consistency. Definitely something I want to see more of.
Thanks,
with
Paul.
that said, I want to shift gears to the college game now. And you touched on it earlier in the show, Caleb Williams climbing up into the stands after that heartbreaking loss. A valiant effort on Williams' part and crying in his mother's arms. Very emotional moment.
I thought he was covered. Was he crying in his mother's arms? I didn't see.
He was definitely doing like the crying, like the crying jerks.
Oh, he was crying. I just didn't see that it was like, that was his mom that he.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm pretty sure that was his mother.
Okay.
And with that said, I saw a little bit of a controversial figure in sports media, Jason Whitlock, basically like being outraged by his tears, crying in his mother's arms, and he called him, Chico, undraftable. Fair or foul, Jason Whitlock finding a player crying over a game they care so passionately for, being undraftable?
Okay, it's foul, but it's not because he said he's undraftable. I mean,
he said it. His words, not mine.
No, yeah. This is what Whitlock does. I mean, and there are some things that I do think that he's, even though it's out there, like sometimes I'm like, not bad. But then there are things like this that is just, it's so ridiculous. Like, could you be any more transparent that I just want clicks? I just want people to talk about me. Undraftable? I mean, I don't think it's any big deal. I mean, his mom, it was a little odd, but, you know, the kid cares. I think he's played better this year than he did last year in his Heisman. Think about it. If he doesn't have the season that he's had so far, USC is in major trouble. Like, I mean, granted, you know, they were exposed and when they had to have games the most, but, like, I thought he played his ass off this year. It's not his fault. So that's stupid. I mean, that's just seriously, like, I know we're in a world where it's all about clicks and impressions, but my God, I mean, that's ridiculous.
I'm with you, Chico. I think
Thanks, Boom. I feel better when you say it. I'm with you, Chico.
well, no, I mean, you touched on it. Like, it just shows that he cares. And for someone in his position, that is to feel so helpless because you're putting forth these huge performances. And
Sorry, I don't know.
yeah, you don't need the headphones. We don't have any more guests joining, as far as I know. You can rock the hat. With all that said, Chico,
It's a little small. I'm an 18 3/4. Go ahead.
I want to ask you about the Heisman now, because a lot of interesting shakeups occurred in college football. Obviously, you know, Williams came into the season as the front runner. Jaden Daniels, many may have thought could be the front runner going into this week, but LSU falls to Alabama. Daniels still put up some pretty good numbers.
Yeah,
though.
he didn't play that bad, but yeah.
Do you think that Jaden Daniels, fair or foul, is still the front runner for the Heisman?
I still believe this. I think it's going to come down to November 25th. And I think it's either going to be J.J. McCarthy, and I know right now Marvin Harrison is kind of distant with the odds, and he's picked up a little bit, but he's still a bit of a long shot, which I absolutely would put money on. But I think November 25th, now we don't know exactly what's going to play out in terms of, you know, the investigation, and, you know, this is like a everyday occurrence with Michigan. But if we're talking about those two programs, those two teams going head-to-head November 25th, undefeated, and J.J. McCarthy has a huge game and a win, or Marvin Harrison has a huge game and a win, both of which are plausible, I think that's going to be your Heisman winner.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you about specifically Marvin Harrison, because I don't want to say quiet, but 4 receptions, 24 yards, 2 touchdowns. Fair or foul, do you think that hurt his Heisman chances?
Oh, yeah.
You still got the 2 touchdowns, though, 2 crucial touchdowns. The last one put them away, but then the first one, it came at a time when Ohio State really needed it to go ahead.
Okay, let me preface this by saying that do I think he's the best college football player in the land? Yes, I do. But, I mean, we already talked about it. He's not leading. So you pretty much, and unfortunately for him, he's relying on his quarterback, who's been wildly inconsistent, even though it's his high school buddy and his high school quarterback, Kyle McCord from Philadelphia. But so if you're in the back trying to catch up, 4 for 24, I mean, it's, you know, you did catch 2 touchdowns, you're right, but they're looking at those stat lines. I mean, it does become a, you know, wow, those are gawking numbers, whatever. So having a game like that, but like I said, forget about it, because November 25th, everything, I think it's all coming down to that. I really, and it's no knock on Jaden Daniels. Like, if LSU won and he played pretty well, but even played a little bit better, I'd say right now he's a favorite. Maybe he is, but I really believe it's J.J. McCarthy or Marvin Harrison.
Interesting. So I wouldn't have. I guess I wouldn't have considered McCarthy as like one of the front runners right now. But
he's leading it, isn't he?
He could be.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not exactly monitoring the polls of Heisman.
See, now you would be the one that I would think would be monitoring the polls. Chico, fair or foul?
I saw an ESPN poll where Marvin Harrison was leading.
No, he wasn't.
It was a fan voting Twitter poll.
Oh, well, yeah. No. And I'm guessing if it's your Twitter feed, which are fellow.
It was still from ESPN.
I have no. He is the best player in college football. I absolutely believe that. But we know he's got an uphill climb because, again, it's usually a quarterback position, and he's reliant, obviously, on that other half, and that other half has just been really inconsistent. Offensive line, whatever. I'll tell you what I would like to see. We won't see it, but if Travion Henderson were healthy for a full year and, see him at his best, I think Travion would be in the discussion. I really do. I'm talking about playing at his best, seeing just a crease, daylight, and off he goes.
Yeah, Travion's been on a tear. When he's healthy, when he's out there. And it's been fun to watch. And certainly, just when you have Kyle McCord taking the snaps, Lord knows it helps to have Travion out there next to him. Last thing I want to ask you about, Chico, Dabo Sweeney. Did you see that impassioned post-game press conference where Dabo's yelling? I love the Dabo Sweeney post-game press conferences after a win when he gets so amped up. He's just, it kills me. But he was like, if you're buying stock in Clemson, you better buy it now. I'll have to find it for you after the show or something.
And then one of the boosters said, well, if I'm buying stock in Clemson, could you buy into the transfer portal? Because a big part of getting talent. I like Dabo too. Go ahead. What's your question?
Well, I was going to ask Chico, fair or foul, because obviously that huge upset victory over Notre Dame, Clemson now unranked.
I heard a lot of people were on that call, like that upset. But yeah, fair or foul. What that he?
Are you buying Clemson? Are you buying stock in Clemson resurgence?
Good question. To where when you say resurgence, to where they were a few years ago, no. They're not getting. And again, the only way you're getting there, I hate to. He knows it, and I applaud him for trying to. But you can't avoid it. And if you don't want to, that's why you have certain guys that are just out when it comes to hoops, when it comes to football. Like, they just don't want to deal with it. Saban's getting tired of it, but he at least realizes, hey, I've got to do this. Last thing on Dabo, though, because he has every coach has their weekly call-in show. And some guy, that's when I loved it. Some guy called in and was talking about his, big payday and whatever. And do you think it's fair for the season that you've had? And he just lit him up. And you know what? Good for him, because he's like, don't think just because this is a coach's show or a call-in show that you can say and do whatever you want. That normally those are coach, and they tiptoe around it. He didn't. He's feeling the heat, and I think deep down he knows, I've got to dip into the transfer portal. He's not going to have a choice. He's going to have to do it, or he's going to lose his job.
You think they have a call screener for that coach's show?
I would hope all of them.
How do you let that call?
But the guy, no. But the guy wasn't. Here's the thing. He didn't come on and start yelling and dropping F-bombs. He didn't yell. He was just, Coach, I was just curious your thoughts with what you're getting paid and where the program is right now. And Dabo just cut him off. Just absolutely cut him off. It was hilarious. All right. By the way, breaking news before we get out of here. Guardians have signed and tapped Steven Vogt to be their new manager. Mentioned Craig Counsell. He goes to the Cubs. So Craig Counsell out in Milwaukee will go to Chicago to manage the Cubs, and the Guardians settle on Steven Vogt. All right, so we're out of time for this Monday. Tomorrow, of course, the Bold Ball Breakdown. Our good buddy Nick Shook from NFL.com and the NFL Network as the Browns victorious. Yes, enjoy it for another day. This test coming up on Sunday is a big one. This Ravens team is for real on both sides of the ball. And, they just ran for 300 yards. Seattle's defense, while young, is still pretty good. And the Ravens just absolutely bullied the hell out of them. The Browns are going to win this game. They better, obviously they got to stop the run, but they better be balanced on offense, something Seattle wasn't. and Baltimore just made hay with Geno Smith. So we'll talk more about it tomorrow, though. Thanks to James Rapine for joining us down in Cincinnati. Bengals also victorious yesterday as they knocked off the Buffalo Bills. Boom. Other than watching me take a 4x4 to the head and taking some sort of delight in that, I thought you did an okay job. Hopefully I'll be able to remember my way home after getting knocked on the noggin, but
I'll try to speak up next time. I was just like so astonished by what was unfolding.
I was astonished too. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Chico Borman Show. Back with you again tomorrow at noon. Bold Bald Breakdown with Nick Shook from noon until 1. We're with you until 2, Monday through Friday, right here on the Big Play Sports Network.